Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora.
Hi.
We got Jonathan Voico.
Welcome to LA, Blake Snell.
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, guys.
But most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is the most important. We're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like us to address, and understand as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and fire it on into www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news about this tip link. It's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're not watching the show live, but you're listening to it later on our podcast feed, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and thank you to everybody who subscribes to our podcast feed, or if you watch this show a little bit later in the day, you can also send in a question whenever you want, 24/7, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that all down, we got a few things to talk about, so let's get things started with this. Often we hear, one of the biggest cliche lines we hear every year around awards season is, it was just an honor to be nominated. We hear that all the time, right? Particularly from the losers. It was just an honor to be nominated. But do all actors feel that way? One in particular does not. Samuel L. Jackson, who has more than once aired his grievances of not winning an Oscar on a couple of occasions. He's come out and said, no, it's not an honor to be nominated. It's an honor to win. That's what he says it is. In which Variety wrote the following. They said this: Samuel L. Jackson said in a video interview with AP Entertainment while promoting his role in Netflix's The Piano Lesson that Oscar nominations aren't too big of a deal for him. Shockingly, Jackson has only earned one Oscar nomination during his illustrious career for Pulp Fiction, which he landed for Best Supporting Actor nod for 1995. Jackson was awarded an honorary Academy Award in 2021. We've been in the business long enough to know that when folks go, it's just an honor to be nominated. No, it ain't. It's an honor to win, Jackson said with a laugh. You get nominated and folks go, yeah, I remember that. Or most people forget. Generally, it's a contest you didn't volunteer to be in. I didn't go in there so I could flex. Let me do my scene so you can remember who I was. The story goes on to remind people about how much he strictly believes he should have won that Oscar, by the way. He's always very, very quick to remind people he should have won that year. That being said, it's an interesting philosophical question. Is it? Because, like, to me, as a film fan, I do point out quite often, like, when somebody gets cast in a certain thing, it's like, listen, this is an Oscar-nominated actor. This is an Oscar-nominated performer. That's a big deal. And Samuel Jackson is saying something. I get where he's coming from when he says, no, it's not an honor to be nominated. Because like 15, 20 years from now, they may not even remember you were nominated, but they'll remember you won. Mm-hmm. They'll remember that you walked up on stage and thanked your agent and thanked everybody in the studio and everything like that. They'll remember that, but they don't remember if you were nominated. All right. I'm going to say, and really the most critical opinion on this panel is going to be Chris's. There's only one of us in here who's an actual performer, but
I perform every day.
That's true. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I disagree with Samuel L. Jackson on this. And here's why I disagree. Why I actually believe to even be nominated for an Academy Award is a huge honor. And it's this. It's the competition pool. Because there are 400 eligible films for an Oscar every year or more. And you're talking, let's say on average, 4 to 5 eligible performers in that. You're talking a pool of several thousand performances that were done in any particular year. And remember, the Academy as a whole does not set nominations for acting. You know who sets the nominations for acting? Actors. The actors branch of the Academy sets the nominations, and then the whole Academy votes on who should win, but the specific nominees. So, like, to me, when I think about this, you've had, let's say, 2,500 potential eligible performances that year. And then your peers, your acting peers, get together and say who amongst us actors do we believe gave the best performances this year and deserve recognition with an Oscar nomination? And your peers say you were one of the 5 best performances out of 2,500? And win or lose on Oscar night, that is by the way, still the biggest broadcast every year other than the Super Bowl in North America. Your name is going to be read out at the Oscars, win or lose, right? You might have Al Pacino up there reading your name. Whether you win or not, who knows?
I see Oppenheimer.
So, I mean, so I've got to disagree. Now, I know Samuel has always been a little burnt that he never won that Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
So to him, it's like, no, it's not good enough for me to, and you know what? I respect that. I totally do. But with all respect, I do disagree with him. I think if you're in a field of 2,500 and your peers, not some random nobodies, but your peers say, your fellow acting peers say you're one of the best of the year, I personally think that would be a huge honor, at least for me. But Chris, you're in a much more legit position to give an opinion on this.
Well, I'm still in. It's an honor just to be cast. Like, let's be clear.
It's an honor not to be cut from a
Yeah,
scene.
it's an honor for my
Not
footage to be
cut from a
here.
scene.
I'm still living that life in
You've been-
all of
you've
my
been
on-camera
cut from
stuff.
scenes. You
I've
should
been
have
cut
more-
from almost every live action thing I've done, which Logan and I have been cast as a real life couple together 5 times.
That's a reward in itself.
Which, like, we get paid to just go make out, and then they're like, well, I don't know, they look too much like brother and sister. We gotta cut it.
There
We
are
gotta
other
get them out
professions
here.
where you can do that too. But
That's fair. One day, guys. But yeah, I
Sorry.
I think-
That's one of those things my filter between my brain and my mouth should have
I
caught.
mean, you
Okay,
know,
anyway.
in this economy, I get it. I think it is an honor to be nominated, unless you are Samuel L. Jackson. Then you absolutely get to go on this tirade of just
Right.
like, no, I'm amazing. Why have I not gotten an Oscar? This is crazy. And I love how forthright he is about this, because it is a very PR thing of, oh, you know, I'm just so happy to be here. This is so nice. I love that an actor actually did step up and go, no, I want to win. I don't want to graciously lose and practice my losing face on camera. Oh, deserved.
Practice my
Deserved.
loser
They're
face. I
just
love
So
that.
good.
Yeah, they're just a person
Yeah.
that made the person who won their Oscar look better because they beat you. You're just a name on that list.
Yeah.
That the winner.
Are you saying they're Oscar fluffers?
I'm just
Oscar fluffers.
I'm just saying the nominations sometimes could just be
Oh,
a
man.
name on the the hunting board or whatever.
It is impressive, though, to get a nomination. I mean, when I was on the SAG nominating committee, I need
I
you all
keep
to
forgetting
know.
that you were on the set.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where's my nomination?
Well, you got to join SAG, babes.
Oh,
And, you got to do
I
some
wanna be
stuff.
the
You
first
can't be cut.
non-SAG.
So it's every single movie.
Mm.
I mean, we all think about what is actually an Oscar contender or what kind of movies are Oscar bait. And when you're doing the nominations, it's every film. It's spaghetti at the wall. And so to get through all of that is really impressive. But I'm sure when you're at that echelon, it's no, give me my award.
Where's
get it.
my word? So what should somebody like a Samuel L. Jackson, who has been nominated, felt guilty because they didn't win? Like, who else was it that had several nominations? Who was just mayor of Easttown?
Kate Winslet.
Like, how many times? Like, hasn't she been nominated like 5 or 6 times?
Let's see here. Kate
And
Winslet.
and has she ever won? I can't even
I mean,
remember.
going back, it even runs to like the running joke for decades was Peter O'Toole.
Oh
She's been
yeah,
nominated
And then
7
they,
times.
And then
she's been nominated 7 times.
yeah, and like Samuel Jackson, he eventually got an honorary award. They're like, look it, Peter, just take this.
Yeah.
Because
I will say this, and I've got an image here, Jonathan, but I remember back when for us it was the Academy of Web Television Awards when we got nominated for Best Live Series, and the event was held in Vegas, and we all went down to Vegas and I remember we had that conversation. I mean, this is not the Oscars, but we had the conversation of, I mean, it's just an honor that we're here. I mean, we're just we couldn't believe that we had actually been nominated for it and blah, blah, blah. And now, as you can see from the picture, we actually ended up winning. That's an incredible cast of characters up on that stage. So we actually ended up winning, which is great. But I remember thinking, like, this is so amazing. We were nominated. And so the one thing I would say, I get what Samuel L. Jackson is saying, but I would also say to him, hey, man, you're kind of just delegitimizing somebody else now, like taking away the specialness from some other young up and coming actor who maybe gets an Oscar nomination and telling them, nah, you shouldn't feel good about that. Although I totally know that's not his intention whatsoever. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Samuel Jackson is saying, no, it's not an honor to be nominated for an Oscar. It's an honor to win. I mean, that's a winner's attitude right there. I don't happen to agree with him, though. What do you think about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Moana 2 is now playing in theaters. It's been well established on the show how much I love the first Moana. I love that movie unashamedly. I love it. I think it's great. So I was quite excited to go see the second one. Now, going in, I went to go see it yesterday, and I did put up my out of theater reaction for those of you who might have seen it. But going in, what the general consensus I heard from people was 3 things that most people seem to agree on that I talked to that had already seen the film. Number 1, the movie isn't quite as good as the first one. Number 2, the music is nowhere near as good as the first one. And number 3, the movie itself is still quite good. That was the general consensus that I heard from people going in. So I went into Moana 2 and I came out, and I got to say, I agree with all 3 of those points. The movie overall isn't quite as good as the first Moana. It's just not. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is because the music is nowhere near as good. The music, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the music's bad, okay? Let me be clear. I'm not saying the music's bad. It's just that, you know, when I came out of Moana the first time, I could hum Shiny, or I could hum How Far It Goes, or like there's 3 or 4 songs I could hum along to, right? I'm less than 24 hours out from seeing the last Moana 2. I couldn't hum you a single bar from any of the songs I just saw. Like, they were fine. They worked fine in the movie, but I didn't walk out of the theater with them. They didn't come along with me. They didn't stick, you know? And I think that's one of the reasons why Moana 2 isn't as good as Moana 1. All right. But I still thought it was quite a good movie. You know what? And here's the thing. While the movie overall isn't as good as the first one, I think the third act is probably better than the third act of Moana 1. Like, I really loved the last 20 minutes. And that's less than the full third act. But I mean, the last 20 minutes of Moana 2 were actually really good. And it always helps when you're watching a movie when you walk out on its high note. And I definitely feel like the ending of Moana, the last 20, 21, 22 minutes of Moana 2 were definitely the highlight of the film. They did a great job making Moana feel like the same girl, but older now, of the fact that we got a lot more of Polynesian mythology and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool. And it made sense with it. I like the new characters they brought along, because now this time it's not just Moana on a boat by herself. She brings along a crew. And I really like the crew. Everything from the Scotty engineer to the old man farmer to like, I like the cast of characters. I loved Maui again. I thought Maui was great. Yeah, so overall, is this a movie that I'm going to watch as many times as I watched Moana 1? No. Is this on the same level as Moana 1? No. But is this a movie worth seeing? I say yes. I had a good time with it, even though it's not as good as I was hoping it would be. So that's where I'm at. Where's your household's anticipation level like right now for more? Because you didn't have a chance to see it yesterday.
No, I was genuinely confused by Logan doing no, let's kind of keep working on our Thanksgiving prep and watch Bad Santa. Or not Bad Santa, Dear Santa.
Excited about those
He's
cranberries.
so excited.
And making those cranberries. He wants to work on the
He
thing.
wants to do all the Thanksgiving stuff, and he wants to eventually go get his nacho boat after he's done with Thanksgiving. But yeah, he's really pumped about it. He also wants to watch Moana again, too. Like he hasn't watched it in the last 2 weeks.
Like to
prep for it.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to do it after Thanksgiving as our thing. But he's really pumped, and I'm really looking forward to it. It looks visually really beautiful. I'm bummed the music isn't as strong, but, you know.
Well, I mean, look, we knew there was a chance of that because Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote the music in the first one, did not write the music in the second one. And actually, the musical highlight of the movie is when they did play a song from the first one. At the very end, they play one of the songs from the first one. It's like, that's the best song in the movie.
I had a feeling at the end they'd pull that. They'd have a callback.
Yeah, they did, and it was perfect. It was well placed. I gotta say, I can't pronounce her name for the life of me, even though she came into our studio and hung out with us for a day. But the young girl who does the voice of Moana,
Yeah.
ooh, if you thought that girl could sing in the first movie, the songs weren't great. The vocals were fantastic.
Oh, good.
This girl was great. I somebody look up her name and try to pronounce it.
Louis Carvajalo?
Yeah, Carvajalo is like the easier part. It's the first name that's hard to
Is
pronounce.
it a Louis?
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm so sorry
she's
if I'm butchering
wonderful.
that, you guys.
So having her back was great. Hey, and listen, with all the crap we've been giving Dwayne Johnson lately, gonna give him some flowers. Him doing the voice of Maui, just as good as he was in the first one. He was really good. And again, he bring a lot of Maui has a song in this one, nowhere near as good as You're Welcome from the first one, but he does a good job with it. So yeah,
So you give it a yes or Moana?
I give it a yeah. Moana, Moana.
Got it, Chris? That was
A
just
Moana yes
Thank you,
or
buddy.
Moana?
I love it.
I give it a Moana yes. Not
Moana.
one I think you're going to flock back to the theaters to see 3 or 4 times, but one that I think you'll come out of going, yeah, that was entertaining. I liked it, just not as good as I was hoping it would be. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? Did you have a chance to see those that preview screenings yesterday? If so, what did you think about the movie? Where's your anticipation level for it? High, low, whatever it is. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about a couple things, including Moana setting a preview night box office record, and AMC is forcing women who are painting their faces green as Elphaba to take their makeup off before coming in. Right move, wrong move? We're going to just debate that in just a second. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Perfect Jean. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Jean. So the colder season is here, and guess what? I am living in the perfect jean. These jeans are super stretchy, soft, and totally trick people into thinking I've got my life together. And I'm telling you this because I actually love them. These are absolutely, no questions asked, my favorite jeans that I have ever owned. And yes, the folks over at The Perfect Jean are paying me to say that, but it's still absolutely true. These are my favorite jeans ever. These jeans have enough stretch to accommodate Thanksgiving dinner and are comfy enough to wear all day watching Sunday football. Plus, even though they feel like sweatpants, they look good enough to be your go-to pants for date night. And listen, the Perfect Jean isn't even just pants. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. My guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with the promo code CAMPEA. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the Perfect Jean. And thank you to our friends at The Perfect Jean for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of Moana 2, of course, the official opening day is today, which meant yesterday was the preview night. And now we all kind of assume Moana would do really well at the box office. Well, it's off to a great start, as it's just set a very impressive box office record as the biggest box office take on a preview night for any Disney animated film ever. It's crazy. This comes to us from Variety, who says this. Moana 2 set sail at the box office with $13.8 million in preview screenings on Tuesday, ranking as the biggest preview haul in history for Disney animation. It's also the biggest pre-Thanksgiving preview bounty and the second best preview figure of all time for an animated title. To compare to Disney's other animated juggernauts, this June's Inside Out 2 ranked in $13 million on its preview night, before notching $154 million in its 3-day debut. 2019's Toy Story 4 brought in $12 million in Thursday previews before launching to $121 million over the 3 days, while 2019's Frozen 2 earned $8.5 million on Thursday previews before bowing to $130 million over the weekend prior to Thanksgiving. Pixar's 2018 sequel, The Incredibles 2, which retains the record for biggest debut for an animated film, pulled in $18.5 million in Thursday previews before opening to a mighty $183 million over the weekend. All right. So when you really stop to think about it, like when you think about the history of Disney animation and all animation, the fact that Moana 2 just had the biggest preview night ever in history for Disney Animation, and the second biggest preview night of all time for any animated film, is pretty impressive. The interesting one, too, is the Inside Out 2, because it made more than Inside Out 2 did on its preview night. And Inside Out 2 ended up being 154 million on its opening weekend. Now, I don't necessarily think that Moana 2 is going to have a $150 million opening weekend. I'm not saying it won't. I'm saying I'm not necessarily thinking that it will. But the fact that it even beat out Inside Out 2 on its preview night is pretty... Go ahead.
Yeah, on a Tuesday as well versus a Thursday,
Yeah.
which does make a big difference when you're tracking days of the week.
Because
for
a lot of
box
people
office.
understand that Thursday is the opening, is the real opening night, the preview night. I think a lot of people didn't even realize Moana was playing in theaters yesterday. And yet it still made more than any other Disney animated film in history on its opening preview night. And I think we as film fans are guilty sometimes of, when we're throwing around numbers all the time, we forget to put it in historical context. Guys, think about all the Disney or Pixar or whatever animated films that have come out and stuff like that. And Moana 2 just topped that list. That's impressive. Now, will Moana 2 be a $1 billion film? I thought it had a chance after seeing it. I don't think it's going to get enough repeat viewings to be a $1 billion film.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it's going to make a lot of money. And it's already making a lot of money. So I think it's pretty impressive. Chris, you see these numbers. What stands out to you?
That they made the right decision putting it in theaters. Honestly, that's the big takeaway here is, wow, I can't believe you guys were going to make this a series and put it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's 13 million you wouldn't have had.
and that's, I think I just keep coming back to that. I understand that there obviously is a time and a place for things to be on streaming networks. That's why we have streaming networks. But when it comes to things that had great box office numbers, why would you put their successors on a streamer? And so I'm hoping moving forward that Disney really does contemplate these things and really weighs out those pros and cons. The biggest pro being, hey, do we want to make some money today?
That's always a good question to start your day with.
I think so.
I think that's always good for
That's
business.
what I do when I roll out of bed. Am I going to make any money
So
today?
let me ask you this, though. Now that we've seen the number for its preview night,
Yeah.
we saw comparables, comps, as the people in the real estate industry call it, with Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 ended up making 154. What do you think Moana's opening weekend is going to be?
Ooh, that is a great question. I don't think it's going to perform as strong as Inside Out did. Mostly because we still have a little bit of the Wicked stuff happening.
Yeah.
And I do think
And
people can
Gladiator
do that.
2
And
that
Gladiator
the
as
parents are going to
well.
want to see.
And based on just what you've said and what some other reviews have said, I don't think it's going to have that let's go see it multiple times, particularly for parents, because that's what Inside Out 2 had going for it. Was I heard so many parents talking about how they wanted to see that movie so many times as talking points for their children,
Right,
to discuss anxiety and everything. So I don't know, a modest 125 or something like that. I don't know. Nothing crazy.
Well, listen, 1 to 125. That's
It's right under
nothing
Frozen
to
2.
sneeze at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
For a Disney sequel, I feel like that's a really good number for them. I just don't think it's going to be like that 160-ish kind of number that we've seen from other stuff.
I don't think so. It's got too much competition. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Moana just set an incredibly impressive opening preview night record that has stood forever. Impressed, not impressed? How do you think that'll translate into the actual opening weekend box office? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Of course, the big movie in theaters right now, until today's the official opening day of Moana 2, is Wicked. Wicked has already been crushing it at the box office, doing big numbers. Fans love it. They're excited about it and stuff like this. But an unfortunate situation has just come up where there have been some female fans who have, in their fandom and enthusiasm, wanted to dress up as Elphaba and put on the green paint and went into certain movie theaters, in this case, particularly AMC movie theaters, only to get there and have AMC theaters tell them, we're going to need you guys to take the face paint off. Situations like this one, Joe Blow is actually sharing video of some girls at AMC being filming themselves saying, I was just told they're not going to let me in unless I go to the bathroom and wash off my face paint and stuff like that. And that has happened in a couple of locations. So the question becomes, it started this big debate online, including at one of my favorite sites there, Joe Blow. It started a big debate about, was AMC right or wrong to tell people that they had to go and take their face makeup off? It hurts me in a deep and very real way to utter the words, I agree with AMC. Oh, God, I don't like saying those words.
Okay.
Considering, in my opinion, what an idiot of a so-called CEO they have. But I am nonetheless forced, chokingly, to say, I agree with AMC. Look, a little bit of background and context, okay? Number of years ago, many of you will remember, and I was at AMC at the time, there was a really horrific incident that happened at a California AMC where a guy wearing a mask came in and shot a bunch of people in a movie theater. Now, when something like that happens, everybody rushes to blame the venue. And I was at AMC at the time. And believe me, we were inundated with AMC should have done more, including, and you may think, no, guys, this happened because I was there. Inundated with, how could you guys be so stupid to let people covering their faces to come into the theater? I mean, COVID health issue, face masks, that's a different issue altogether. But I mean, I remember we got flooded with that. Mm-hmm. Flooded with AMC should have done more. AMC should have had stricter policies. It's AMC's fault. And how could you be so stupid as to let people wearing masks and covering their faces come into your theaters? We got flooded with that. We got absolutely flooded with it. I remember our PR teams and stuff like that desperately trying to deal with it and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's what happened. So what did AMC and other theaters do? In response to that, they created a new policy that you can't make yourself unrecognizable coming into the theater. You can't. They made a rule that's been in place for a while. This isn't new.
It goes back to the Dark Knight. I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, or shortly thereafter.
After, but in that
they
era.
created a new rule that's like, listen, no complete face painting and no masks. It's just to make our patrons feel more safe. And I find it hilarious that the same public who screamed at AMC, how could you possibly let people in covering their faces, are now saying, why is AMC turning away people for covering their faces? And like I said, it hurts me in the bum place to have to say that I think I agree with AMC on something, but I agree with them on this. And listen, it's a policy that's publicly put on their website. And it's not like it's something new. It is a rule. And listen, the moment they let people start getting away with it, and listen, by the way, I know for a fact there are some AMC locations that sometimes let people get away with it. It happens. But I don't think you can get mad at a location for when they enforce it and say, look, we had something horrible happen before, and you, the public, blamed us.
I know that there's been
it happened.
I know that there's been other movies where this has happened too. And it's like didn't blow up on TikTok or whatever, but I know that people are dressed up in cosplay where it was full face and they're like, you got to go, or you got to take that off or whatever. Like you can have clothes on that are, but you can't cover your face. At
Disneyland too, you can't, on most days at Disneyland, you can't go full cosplay.
Yeah.
That's mostly because of the magic of the characters.
Well, that, and there was a situation where people thought somebody was a staff person there, and they did something unforetold, right?
One time
so we got to have a policy that says that, yeah, it takes away some of the fun. It sucks. Listen, I think it does suck. I think it sucks that this has to be a rule. But if you're grown up and you think about it, I understand why they have the rule and why they got to enforce it. And so like we went to go see Wicked, and like there was two women in there dressed as Elphaba. They just didn't have the green face paint on. And there was no problem. They let them in they because their facial features were not covered or anything like that. Listen, I get everybody who wants to say, it's just paint. Paint doesn't hurt anybody. No, paint doesn't hurt anybody. A mask doesn't hurt anybody. But unfortunately, there's been situations where people distorting their appearance so you can't tell who they are have gone into theaters and they have hurt people. And for wildly inexplicable reasons, a lot of the public then blamed the movie theater for it. So what did the movie theater do? They said, all right, we won't let that anymore. We won't permit it. And now we get mad at them for enforcing it? It seems, I'll just say it, it's stupid. It is stupid. And it sucks that other people have to ruin our fun. It sucks that this kind of thing has to happen. I wish we could, even at Comic-Con, right? Even go to Comic-Con now, they now have certain restrictions, not broad scoping restrictions, but even at Comic-Con, they have certain restrictions now on cosplay and what you can have a part of your cosplay and what you can't. It sucks that some fucking morons have to ruin it for the rest of us. But if you're a business like AMC and everybody blamed you, I don't blame AMC for then putting certain rules in place. And listen, if you liked Wicked, you're going to like it whether there's green makeup on your face or not. It just is. Anyway, it's a complicated issue, I understand. But Chris, you heard about this. What do you feel about it?
I understand why they would want to be overly cautious in light of the Aurora shooting and everything that happened and just the world we live in now where, unfortunately, mass shootings are very common, at least in this country. That speaks to a greater issue than what happens in movie theaters.
Yeah.
But for me on this one, you know, the full like tactical facial gear that was used before, obviously that absolutely obscures your facial features. Whereas I'm looking at Cynthia Erivo back here. I know that's Cynthia Erivo when she still got green paint on. I know I can still describe that girl who had the green paint on over there. So I can see why people would think this is being blown out of proportion and it's just fans having fun. But I can also see why AMC wouldn't then want to have, okay, well, let's get really specific about these face paint regulations. You can't do like strong contouring or something of that nature, you know?
I think it's because it's logistics. You're not going to get to every manager at every spot and be like, these are the particular, and then get that damn marching orders to all the employees, and then they have to make a snap call.
And then you don't want to put the employees in a place where they have to make a judgment.
It's easier to just be like, yay or nay.
Don't cover your face.
Yeah.
Don't cover your face with a mask or makeup.
Most of the time, you know, these kids working in an AMC are, you know, they're teenagers.
Yeah.
And they already deal with, let's face it, some real jagweeds who come to a movie theater and act like they have every right in the world and start yelling at teenagers because, I don't know, someone didn't hug them enough and they've got a lot of anger issues. So it's always frustrating to see the employees of these theaters have to deal with everyone's negativity. It's just a shame that when somebody is so excited about seeing this movie and they do go, I'm going to do full cosplay, I'm going to make this an event, I'm so excited to celebrate this, that it becomes an issue. Because, you know, we talk about it all the time. Theaters, movie exhibitions are facing a huge problem of getting butts in seats. And stuff like this should be fun and should be acceptable. But again, it's just the reality of the world we live in is that a lot of people are willing to cause harm and willing to do dangerous things in public places. And you got to hedge your bets on, do I want to make sure everyone here is safe and that nothing could go wrong, or if something does go wrong, people are easily identifiable? Or do I want people to have this fun time, but maybe let something like that happen?
It's also
it's a really big lose-lose.
What you're touching on too is liability. So they have, not that you're touching you directly, but they have, let's say they have this face paint thing. Okay. Well, you can identify them, but if someone gets harmed by someone with face paint, that family's lawyer is going to be like, interesting. In your guidelines, you say no face paint.
That's exactly what I was going to go to. All right.
Identifiable or not. Now you're screwed and now you're liable.
Because AMC isn't just in this situation. They're not just trying to make their patrons feel safe. AMC is protecting itself, because the very first thing that's going to happen, if somebody comes in with face paint or a mask or whatever in a cosplay and hurts somebody else in their theater, the first thing that's going to happen, and don't pretend like this wouldn't be the case, the first thing that'll happen is AMC is going to get sued.
Because that's what
for letting those people in with their faces covered with makeup or whatever. You don't think what I'm telling you is the truth?
No, because the lawyer
AMC is going to get sued. Do you think when I used to live in Canada, and I can't wait to live there again, but when I used to live in Canada, do you think everybody goes out and puts salt down on their sidewalk in the wintertime because they really think people don't have enough balance to be able to walk on some snow? Of course we know everybody has the balance to walk on some snow. But if you don't put the salt down and somebody does slip, you're getting sued. So that's the whole thing. Like, AMC not only has to make the environment feel safe for their customers, AMC has to legally protect themselves. And by putting certain rules in place, remember, this is after they got blamed for something that wasn't their fault. AMC having certain rules in place to protect themselves, because guys, you can't look at me with a straight face and tell me that if something bad did happen, that those people wouldn't sue AMC theaters for letting that person in. Of course
We've
they
seen
will.
it happen so many times. People blaming McDonald's for spilling their own coffee on themselves, right?
Classic
Yep.
lawsuit.
Jumping off the roof wearing your Superman cape didn't make you fly. We now have instructions. Every time you see a warning label on something, it's because some dumbass did it and then press charges. I am a very, very small, literal mom and pop. My business is me and Logan, and we have liability insurance through the wazoo in our home in case somebody gets hurt in our vocal booth. Has
Yeah.
something fall on them, God forbid, if an earthquake happens while they're in my home and like they bonk their head or something. You got to go to so many great lengths to protect yourself as a business. And if you are a large corporate conglomerate like this, yeah, I think you're going to make sure you're erring on the side of caution.
Yeah. So again, I think the key important pillar facts here to remember are this. When something bad happened before, when somebody came in with face coverings, people blamed AMC for letting people in with face coverings. AMC now has a rule, no face coverings. Do they enforce it all the time? I think there are times that they don't always enforce it, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't enforce it or that they have disqualified themselves from enforcing it. And the reality is, if somebody came in with like some massive character makeup or a mask or something like that and then hurt somebody else, they would use that as grounds to sue AMC. So like, guys, I know it sucks. I agree. It sucks. I want to be able to go and but I get where AMC is coming from on this. I really, really do.
It's their place. It's like if someone brings like food to your party, but you have a rule like you have to take off your shoes in the house, and they don't want to take off their shoes, they're not coming into the house, right?
Yeah.
But what did they bring?
Everybody,
What's their food?
everybody has strong opinions how somebody else should behave.
Yeah.
Like everybody says, oh no, you should be doing this. If it was your house and you knew if people did this in your house, you could get sued, would you not have a rule? Oh yeah, but that doesn't count. Like everybody's got strong opinions about how everybody else should act.
And don't tell me like these fans that actually dress up and face paint, they're not the most diehard fans, right?
Of course,
This thing is going to come out digital. You could throw a party and you could have as many costumes as you want at your house.
Not my
and
house.
Celebrate, that way. If you want to, and there's also Halloween. It just passed, but I don't know.
John,
Yeah.
who doesn't
I
like bringing
totally
people
get
on his
why
home?
No fun allowed.
they were
No
forced
fun.
to remove their face paint.
And by the way, I would also say this. Look, I love, like bring up my screen again. This girl, I love that this girl is such a fan. I love
Yeah.
great environments at movies. I love that she wanted to do that. But, I mean, if she was watching Wicked at home, would she have gotten dressed up like that? Probably not. And that's fine. I love that she wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks that we live in a society where places like AMC have to take those precautions. That sucks. But you would too if it was your venue.
And you know what? AMC probably pretty soon, just because of this, they're probably going to put a real loud and clear on their website, or we get tickets, maybe even for specific movies.
I mean, it's already on their website.
Like costumes and stuff like that, just so people are aware, so they don't have to deal with every individual that comes in, and they could just point to, hey, this was on the website, this was on the ticket kiosk,
and they already are.
They're
doing that right now. They're already doing that right now.
Right.
They're putting out statements saying, guys, it's clearly laid out. But I mean, I've also seen some people in the live chat bringing something else up. Well, have more security at the movie theaters. Have like TSA kind of stuff. I don't know that I want to live in a world where I have to clear security to go into a movie theater. And also it's expensive.
Yeah, they barely have any workers behind
Like
the food counter.
they barely make any money, these movie theaters, and that's expensive to do that. So
There was definitely a time I think I would have felt more comfortable, honestly, if there had been metal detectors. I remember
Me
when
too.
there was a huge
Me too.
of just like surplus of, oh, hey, this movie's getting threats surrounding it, or this is happening. Again, this speaks to a bigger issue though. And if things like this bother you, y'all, and I know this isn't a political show, but if things like this bother you, then get involved. Like get involved in your local like elections and do your own research on things. And if things like this bother you, if policies bother you, then start looking into them. Don't just be mad about a movie theater. Be mad that we live in a place where things like that happen.
right now, I want to point this out. Somebody brought up a really, really good point. Michael in the live chat said, "What about sports?" Because me
Ooh,
and we go
That's
to
a good-
Kings games, Rams games, Laker games, whatever, and like you got to clear through multiple layers of security. You got to get your ID checked. You go through metal detectors, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and then you can go into the stadium. The thing is, these football teams and basketball teams make billions of dollars of profit, and they have the money to do that. Movie theaters live, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge this. Movie theaters exist on razor thin margins. And a lot of them just don't have the money to do that.
Yeah, and there's a sad occurrence that happened not too long ago at an Edward Cinema in Corona, where some guy, he went up to a couple and shot both of them and left through the exit door. Imagine if that guy had face paint on. How much harder it would have been to identify him. They caught him right away because they had his face, his picture on the cameras, and it was done. But it was like, they're just saving themselves from any tragedies or any headaches that come after these tragedies, especially for a company. I get it. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I'm seeing a lot of comments in the live chat about the way they think things should be and are ignoring the way things are. And that's one of the tough things. Anyway, guys, I'm sure this is one that could be discussed for a long time. I mean, I remember when those horrible incidents happened forever ago, we discussed for months about what should be done, what shouldn't be done, all that kind of stuff. But the question is for you, what do you think about this? AMC and several other theaters have a policy of not being able to cover your face with makeup or a mask when you come into the theaters. It was in response to real world events. Do you think that is now outdated? Do you think, everybody should just be able to dress up however? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you acknowledge that AMC would probably get sued by people if they let somebody in with their face covered and something bad happened? I don't know. How would you approach it? Remember, if it was your money on the line and your business on the line, how would you approach it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments or questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends who make great stuff over at Mando. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mando. Thank goodness it is football season. It's time for tailgates, touchdowns, and Sunday cookouts with the crew. But unfortunately, along with the drinks and the food, sometimes you also bring along your odor. And that is why Mando whole body deodorant should be an absolute tailgate game day essential. And that's why Mando's the MVP. It's clinically proven 72-hour odor control, so it's perfect for long days at the game or at the bar. I'm loving the Clover Wood scent, but they've got options like bourbon leather, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, and even unscented if you prefer to go stealth mode. I like to use it after the shower, before the gym, or even important meetings. It's that reliable. And right now, Mando's got a killer deal. New customers get $5 off their best-selling starter pack with my exclusive code CAMPEA. That's over 40% off. Just go to shopmando, that's shopmando.com, and use the code CAMPEA. Seriously, guys, if you want a deodorant that's aluminum-free, baking soda-free, and just works better than anything else you've tried, it's time to make the switch to Mando. So don't wait. Control body odor anywhere with Mando. Head over to shopmando.com and use the code CAMPEA and get $5 off your starter pack. Trust me, you're going to love it. That's at shopmando.com. Go and check it out now. And thank you to our friends at Mando for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys. With that down, let's get over to the big stuff here, which is your comments and questions. Jonathan, what we got up first?
Disney Gift says, me and my wife were late to watching season 1 of Shrinking. We got held back from watching season 2 until it had been out for a few weeks. Imagine our sadness when we see the cliffhanger of last week's episode. Go to keep watching to find out we had caught up.
Man, this season of Shrinking has been so powerful. This last episode was a little bit of a flashback one as well, like going back and forth in the time periods. Just breaks your. You know what? Here's the funny thing. Ann and I sat down and watched a new episode of Shrinking last night, thinking it was the season finale.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we thought it was the season finale, and we're like, "That's where they're ending the season? Oh my god!" And then we saw, oh no, there's another episode next week. So we were very happy about that. But oh my god, this season of Shrinking has been great. Have you been enjoying it?
It's been so fun, but also then there's a gut punch every now and then that you're just like, this show, it's so good. The writing is so excellent. The acting is so excellent. Having, oh my gosh, I can't think of her actual name, but the actress who was on there guest starring in last night's episode.
Oh, it's the girlfriend?
Yeah, she was amazing.
By the way, we
on Bad
were
Monkey.
both like, we recognize her. What's she from? I can't remember what she's
Bad
in.
Monkey.
Oh, is that what she's in?
Yep,
Okay.
she's the lead in that, and then she's in a ton of other stuff. She's great. She's always hilarious, but man, she did some beautiful, beautiful work in this. Oh, I love it.
All right, what's next?
Orange Hand says, I really like the family health clinic scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin where the obnoxious kid's dad continually puts him down. We don't, well, I wouldn't say he was putting him down, but we do not say tap that. Do you have any favorite films, characters who only appear in one scene but are a major highlight?
I think that was if I'm remembering it right, I think that was the first time I heard the phrase Jewfro. When the dad was berating his own son, what you you got a Jewfro or something like that. By the way, 40-Year-Old Virgin, my number one all-time favorite comedy. That 1A, 1B is Noises Off with John Ritter and Christopher Reeve and
it's
Carol
so
Burnett.
good.
Oh, Noises Off
Yeah.
is so good. But I mean, my number 1A favorite comedy of all time is 40-Year-Old Virgin. So sorry, what was
Well, just like characters that pop in for one scene. They're not like major. Are there
Oh,
any
well,
movies
you know
where...
what? Speaking of 40-Year-Old Virgin, the first time I ever saw Kevin Hart was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. He has that quick one scene with DeMoney. I forget DeMoney's last name, but one of the characters in the movie. And he has a scene about, you're going to give me that. It's so good. It's such a funny one quick thing. Do you got a quick comedy appearance in a movie that stands out to you?
Oh, I mean, all I can think about with the 40-Year-Old Virgin one, though, is that, like, no, Seth, you've got a little penis. Stop it.
Yeah, you got-
That's great. We actually were just watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles last night, and I always love when we get to the car rental lady. She is perfect. Oh, flawless.
I don't know why, totally off topic. Car Rental Lady, one of my favorite scenes in comedy television was the Seinfeld car rental scene.
Right.
She goes, when she's like, we just don't have your car available, but I made a reservation. She goes, I know how reservations works. I don't think you do. I reserved the car. It's such a good scene. Anyway, all right, what's next?
All right, we got...
A level 4 naughty lister?
Says, do you think there's a chance... It's the name, man. Don't give me no boy.
Okay.
Do you think there's a chance the Batman Part 2 and 3 could go R-rated? While I doubt it. The first was PG-13 and was great for a wide audience, but the success of...
Deadpool, Wolverine?
Deadpool and Wolverine, and the brutal TVMA Penguin, could Reeves justify a darker, more brutal Batman movie?
I just listen. The reason that Penguin got an R rating or a TVMA, as it would be, wasn't because of the violence. It was because of the language. I think you can do a lot with violence. I mean, you can't literally show somebody sawing off another human being's head and with blood dripping out. Like, you can't do that, but you can do a lot of hardcore violence in a movie and not get an R rating.
I mean,
It's really more about the language or nudity and stuff like that. So I don't see how adding more F-bombs makes a Matt Reeves Batman movie better.
It really doesn't.
No,
And-
he doesn't need to make it R-rated.
No, and also, I mean, in the Batman, that guy's bomb collar goes off, and that's his head. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't see it.
By the way, Todd Kaepernick in the live chat says the first scene of the Batman was a guy getting bludgeoned to death by a hammer.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do a lot
more
of
do we need?
hardcore violence and still get PG-13.
The human mind fills in the gaps and is usually more horrifying.
There you go.
That's why women in refrigerator syndrome, having the Green Lantern's girlfriend shoved in a refrigerator and only seeing a few of her libs, not actually seeing the fully dismembered body, was so effective.
Yeah, 100%. All right, what's next?
All right, follows up with, I finally watched Transformers 1, and I think it's a smidge overrated. Maybe I got overhyped, but I love the visuals, animation. The last third of the movie was so awesome. Definitely down for more of this.
Yeah, I love the again. I would always tell people, look, it is the Transformers movie I've waited my whole life for. I don't think it's a top 5 movie of the year. You're right. I've been saying that. I don't think it's going to be top 5, but it's the Transformers movie I've been wanting. And it was just so charming, and the humor in it was great, and the mythology building was great. And like when guys like Starscream would show up, and like it all fits so well. I mean, unfortunately, it's a massive flop. So I don't know if they're going to make any more of them. I know Hasbro's not going to put any more money into it, but I really hope the studio can look at that and say, listen, everybody who saw it did really like it. And we think that could lead to more success if we make another one.
Was that
because they're
Paramount?
doing that with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What's the
Mutant Mayhem.
Mutant Mayhem, right? It didn't do well at the box office at all, but they recognized that people really liked it. and they believe that if we make another one, more people will hopefully they do that with Transformers 1.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Wakanda Forever says, thank you for recommending Shrinking. Such a great show, and the latest episode was awesome. Jimmy has a lot of work to do to address his insecurities. Who is your favorite character? Mine is Gabby and Brian.
Aw.
I love Gabby. Oh, but I think my favorite character is Derek.
Hell yeah.
Right from the very first episode. I mean, they're using him more in season 2, but in season 1, he was just a float in, dropper killer line, float out. Hey, Derek, what are you doing? Just walking the dog I didn't want. Hey, thanks for letting me raise that. I thought I was done raising kids. Thanks for making me raise yours. Like, just these little lines. Like, and by the way, I've always known, I recognize, well, what's he from? Where's he from? What's he from?
Married with Children.
Married with Children, but it was more than that. He's the big baddie from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's the main guy of the other frat.
Also, I guess, is that his wife? I haven't caught up. So, is that she was from Scrubs?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where she's from.
That's Dr. Cox's wife.
And I
or,
believe in real life, she
partner.
and Bill Lawrence are married.
Really?
I think.
Oh, she's great in that. Liz is such a good. So I actually think Liz and Derek are my favorite character. I mean, again, it's so hard to say because Harrison Ford. People think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. Harrison Ford has not been this good in over a decade.
Yeah.
This is his best work in years. He's so good in this. Jason Segel does such a great job in the main, but Gabby's great. By the way, I've got to find out. I've never looked it up.
Mm-hmm.
The girl who plays Jason's dead wife
Yeah.
and the daughter, are they real life mother and daughter? Because they look stupid similar.
I don't think
Like,
they are,
they-
but that's great casting.
Because it's like
Yeah.
whenever the dead mom, they do a flashback and they show her, I'm like, you can't tell me that's not this girl's real mom. Because
That's why
like they
the
look
finale
so alike.
was so heartbreaking of you look so much like your mom right now, of just like sobbing.
Yeah.
Absolute sobbing.
All right. Anyway, sorry. What's next?
Jake says, just realized Krista Milioti, who was who played Leo's first wife in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, that's right.
I know. You always just think of Margot Robbie. You
Yeah.
forget about that. Who he left for Margot Robbie after watching her in The Penguin. I'm not sure now that was a good decision. Well, you're mixing reality and characters, but sure.
It's going to be really interesting come Emmy nomination time to see how many nominations Penguin gets and where they put them. Like, do you put Christina? Do you run Chris Milioti as best actress in a series? Do you run her as best supporting actress? And do you run Penguin in best drama series? Do you run Penguin for best limited series?
Best reality series.
Best reality series.
It's probably going to be up for comedy.
Best
given how
documentary.
it's going.
If it was the Golden Globes, it would be
Well,
comedy.
he had some laughs.
Best documentary. All right, what's next?
Andrew, the two-parter, says, hey, John, first time, long time.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Heard you talk about the original Superman movie, how he flies around the Earth to reverse time. As a kid, I thought he was spinning the Earth rotation backwards as well. Later, I realized he actually begins flying faster than light, traveling back in time like the Flash. So I guess it's like a what is that time? Speed time. The Earth spinning backwards isn't him reversing its rotation. It's visualized time reversing. I think the director confirmed this. Yeah, but as a kid, back then, we didn't know about speed time. So even to this day, it still translates as he has so much force, he's moving the Earth back.
By the way, I've never heard the director say that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he didn't say it. I'm just saying I never heard him say that. If
I-
he did
I-
say that, that makes more sense.
More
but
sense.
it visually plays out
Like
that he
he's-
starts spinning. He starts flying in the opposite direction of the Earth.
Yeah.
To make the Earth stop spinning that way and going the other way. That's the visualization of it. But so that's
Flash
what the
time,
director
not
was going
speed
for.
time.
They should have done it. Should have done it a little bit better than
Like
that. But
speed
anyway,
time.
all right.
I'm
Thanks
always
for
on
bringing that
speed
up.
time.
I've never heard the director say that. I think that's great if he did.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
DJ says, careful what you wish for. For years, I wanted Quantum Leap reboot. Mighty Duck story continued. Teen Titans live action. As Chris would say, WOF. I'm not Oh, yeah. All three was eventually done, and they're all so bad.
Yeah, listen. Any reboot, sequel, revisiting is just the same as any other new property. It can either be good or it can either be bad. And it's either going to be good or bad because that's how they made it, not because it was an original or not because it was a follow-up or a sequel series, right? Like, They rebooted Battlestar Galactica, and it's the greatest show of all time. But they rebooted Quantum Leap. Not so much. So, I mean, it's not a matter of formula, but you're right. As is all things in life, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. All right, what's next?
The Dark Nick says, John and crew, happy Thanksgiving. One of the things I'm most thankful for is you guys in this community. Thank you for being one of the best parts of my day, every day.
Oh, thanks. So, no, just to clarify, though, your message is a month late.
No.
Boo.
Real
Boo this
Thanksgiving
man.
is in October. It was last month. Just throwing that out there.
It's
But thank
tomorrow.
you so much. That's very kind of you. We appreciate that very much. And happy Thanksgiving.
Now,
to you as
does that
well.
mean I get the day off a month from now?
A month
You
ago.
have a month
A month ago.
Yeah.
So retroactive.
Yeah.
I don't take the Canadian Thanksgiving off. You don't get to take Canadian Thanksgiving off. All right, what's next?
Sir Z says, just wanted to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and wonderful happy holidays. Hashtag Blade 2026. By the way, praying for Metal Gear Solid live action movie.
Whatever happened with that?
Oscar Isaac.
Whatever happened to?
But
Metal-
wasn't Tom Hardy at one point attached?
It was just from what I remember. It's just Oscar Isaac.
Well, I think Tom Hardy for a while was attached. And then I think there were some rumors about Oscar Isaac. And then I kept, you know what it's turning into? It's turning into another Voltron thing where we heard like 15 years ago that they're going to try to, I have no idea where that's sitting at right now. I still think Tom Hardy would be great. Oscar Isaac would be great in it too.
Yeah,
but-
it's just hilarious how you know how Tom Hardy, he could be so like bulky and like buff. Him sneaking around cards, just like knocking things over.
I think that could be really cool. All right, what's next?
Tim Matan says, can't Disney just get those who can write songs for musicals like Vizzy Pop or Wonka's Neil Hannon or Hadestown's Anais Mitchell? You can, but they might be busy.
You always do. Whoever they got to write the music is clearly very good and clearly very talented, but it doesn't always work out. Right? It's like, oh, well, if you get somebody who's good, it's always going to be good. No, that's not the case. So like the people who wrote the music in, certain music I've seen, I've never heard of them before, but the music was awesome. Like you get somebody who's really talented. It's like any other thing in movie making. Like you can get a great director, you can get a great cinematographer, you can get a great writer and stuff like that. But listen, making something good in art is like, everybody thinks it's easy. It's not. It's impossibly Herculean to do. And sometimes you capture lightning in a bottle, and sometimes you don't. So yeah, I guarantee you they got people very qualified to do it, and it just didn't work out. All right, what's next?
Marty says, hi, John and crew. Wanted to tell you I found a hidden gem I'd never heard of on Tubi. Nude nuns with big
What?
nude nuns with big guns.
Google it,
Sound-
Ray.
Can I get off early today?
Not a classic piece of cinema,
It's not a
but
public
it is
question.
it is what it says. It's fine. I was just reading.
Sorry.
Not a
That
classic
was
piece of cinema, but it
Not
is what
the
it
right
says.
way.
Would you like to read this, Ray?
I'll be honest with you. I have never opened Tubi. And I've heard it's good though.
To be or
Or not
to
to
be.
be.
yeah.
That's a missed opportunity for a marketing campaign
Well, that
right
was
there.
right.
Well,
Which
it sounds
is
like an old
Big
grindhouse
guns
movie.
and nuns.
It sounds like something Tarantino would screen at the Vista.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's asking, did it premiere on Euro Pussy? So I mean,
Okay. You know what, guys? And that will do it.
today's installment.
You should just do that one day.
There's we've
There's
missed
Euro
Euro Pussy.
Pussy.
There he is. He's back. Does
Sophistication.
Tubi show R-rated stuff?
You're not trying to trick
no
me
idea.
into admitting I watched.
I don't want to Google it to see what it's rated.
All right, I'll do it. 1 second.
Well, if you must, but can you
What
put
is
it on
it?
big screen?
Nude nuns
With big
Big
guns.
Big guns.
I'm assuming it's a grindhouse movie.
It's a
Some
2010
kind of grinding.
movie. Oh, you can show the poster here.
Okay.
There's big guns.
Okay,
They're not
first
nude
of all,
though.
Oh, okay.
that's mismarketing because those nuns are clearly not nude. But it's made by. Oh, this is clearly made on an iPhone or something.
Oh my gosh, that tagline though is brilliant.
The sister is one bad mother.
But you got to read it like Don LaFontaine.
This sister is one bad mother.
Is one bad mother.
In a
Oh my
world.
God!
In a
Look at her
world.
swinging
And then,
the
like,
gun
Where a
around.
nun is left for dead and forced into prostitution, she embarks on a deadly revenge mission to do the Lord's work.
It sets that.
Righteous
Okay,
retribution.
it's directed by Joseph Guzman. Now I got to go down this rabbit hole.
Okay, well,
Who also directed Run Bitch Run.
Classic.
our next sponsor, Run Bitch
Okay,
Run.
so yeah, I've never opened Tubi. There we go.
Well, that's in your history.
I definitely want a moment in my life where I get to say that phrase.
That I directed the movie Run Bitch Run.
I'm just really excited to have a new thing to be thankful for at the table tomorrow. It's nice.
I'm thankful we live in a world where nude nuns with big guns.
is free for all.
All right, what's next?
JG Trey with a two-parter. Hey, crew. My friend and I were discussing Matt Reeves' Batverse, and he said he saw online discussions about how they shouldn't go past a trilogy in Matt Reeves' universe because multiple Batmans would confuse general audiences. You're going to get it anyway because all of these are going to be so far off. I told him that's ridiculous. The general audience can't be that dumb. Well, they can be. But then I remembered a lot of the general audience think that Lion King remake and Mufasa are live action. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean that's a different thing altogether. Like, yeah, listen, there was a time that I thought, if you have multiple live action versions of this character or that character, that'll confuse the audience. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's just wait a minute, isn't this Batman also that? No. Oh, okay. And then they understand. Like, really, there's nobody in theaters going, wait a minute, I don't get it. I thought this Batman was it. How can that be Joker when that guy was Joker? Like, I used to think that too. I did, but I realized, no, the audience isn't that stupid. So, I mean, we as a people are generally pretty dumb, but we are not that dumb. People seem to catch on pretty quick. So, yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be totally fine. All right, what's next?
Reese Jones says, in regard to Dwayne Johnson's comments, I think he fell into his wrestling background with how fans are encouraged to get involved during a show. Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's
movie theaters are not wrestling rinks.
Again, listen, I love Dwayne Johnson. I'm not going to
been
pretend
a
I
ride,
don't. I love the guy. I'm entertained by him. I think he's great for the movie business, but I think it is problematic when you have one of the biggest movies, most recognizable movie stars in the world, encouraging behavior that most people say is one of the things that keeps them away from going to the movie theaters. Other than prices, the biggest gripe a lot of people have about going to the movie theaters is when other moviegoers just do have distracting behaviors. And when you have one of the biggest movie stars in the world telling people to do those distracting behaviors, I think that's a problem. And I honestly think he should publicly walk that back. Because it is such a big problem for the movie going industry. So, I say that somebody who loves Dwayne, and I know Dwayne's watching. That was a pretty dumb thing to say, Dwayne. That
Yeah,
was a really
Dwayne,
dumb
I have
thing to
nothing to
say.
do with this,
And I say
Dwayne.
this as somebody who loves you, but that was a
No,
really stupid
no,
thing to say.
no.
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 Pretty sure he'll never see this, but hey.
All right, what's next?
Rob Buck with a two-parter.
Dang.
Hey crew, John, I was promised a smiling heart with these How to Train Your Dragon movies. We finished 2 and my heart smiled, and then it was immediately shot in the face by a Night Fury. Made me super jumpy going into 3. Poor stoic. I will say I love the way Drago Bloodfist is used in 2. The man has maybe 5 scenes and doesn't show up until the back half. He is an ominous presence over the movie. Might be my favorite animated trilogy if 3 sticks the landing. I personally believe 3 did stick the landing.
Oh, 3 stuck the landing. The ending
Rob, you're gonna like it.
scene, the ending scene on the boat, so perfect to end. Like it was a true period at the end of the sentence that is the How to Train Your Dragon movies. It was so beautifully done. Look, I still don't put it anywhere near the same category as the original Toy Story trilogy, or anything like that. But How to Train Your Dragon is a wonderful set of movies that, while they were successful, I don't think they were as successful as they deserve to be. And I think if they had been Pixar films, they would have gotten more recognition. But they're very, very good, and I think you're going to enjoy 3. I don't think 3 is the best of the 3 movies, but it is a great conclusion.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful conclusion. All right, what's next?
Victor says, in the final scene of Return of the Jedi, do you prefer the original version with Sebastian Shaw as Force Ghost Anakin, or the newer version with Hayden? I actually don't mind either version, but I think Hayden makes more sense in the prequels. I don't care about that. I want the old music back.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Listen, there are so many things about the special editions that I think are stupid, but some of them made sense. Some of the changes made sense. I thought them replacing the Force Ghost with Anakin, although them Jedi got real loose justice at, hey, I committed genocide across the universe, but I saved my son, so I'm good God now. Anyway, but
You
I
can
thought
always make more younglings.
yeah, you can always make
No.
more younglings. Well, they're replaceable.
That's fine. They're kidnapping children left and right.
But like them having, if you're going to have the Anakin Force Ghost appear, it made sense that it was the Anakin that it was the Hayden Christensen version. I got that. So that was fine with me. The big problem I had with the end, though, was the music. That, like the celebration song at the end of Return of the Jedi was perfect. It was perfect. As they spanned across all that kind of stuff, it was perfect. Dun, dun. Bum bum ba bum 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 ba 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 bum bum ba bum ba ba ba. It was great. It was
How to
perfect.
get to Sesame Street?
And then they replaced it with Zamfir's pan flute.
Yes.
It
God,
was
I always
such a
get extra pan
stupid,
flute.
such a
You
stupid
get extra
change.
pan flute with your meal.
Always get extra pan flute.
You
I
got
don't
to
know
pay
what
extra, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it was like we're watching, like, you know, the Emperor's statue get toppled and people are cheering. And it's just like,
Yeah, I
So
mean,
sad.
by the way, it's good to see one person in the live chat recognize the reference to Zamfir. When I was a little kid, some of you in the live chat, I don't know if any of you do, but when I was a little kid, there would be commercials come on for Zamfir and his magical pan flute. Just albums, promoting albums of this weird looking dude just playing pan flute. But that's what they replaced. That's what they replaced at the end with Return of the Jedi. It was such a bad change. Bad change.
Now he's
Man.
on OnlyFans
Nice on one hand.
with skin flute.
Skin.
Playing
would you
some
like to retract that statement, Ray?
Only on Tubi.
What's his name?
Dirty show,
Zenford?
and I'm here for it.
Zamfir's magical
Zamfir?
skin flute. Zamfir. I
The
think it's
human skin flute.
anyway. All
The
right.
retracting skin flute.
All right.
hope it's
All right.
human skin.
There was the line, and
They're
then we
the
crossed it.
I'm promoting.
I'm
Cross
all,
promotion.
look, I'm all queued up here for Dr. Stinky.
All right.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
go. What's
Sorry,
next?
sorry.
All right. I don't think we're going to agree with Dr. Stinky here, but I wore a $400 screen accurate Deadpool mask to Deadpool and Wolverine and got forced to take it off, but I kind of get it, I guess. To make sure over 17 or something. No, it's to make sure if you weren't wielding any weapon, they could identify you. But forcing a woman to remove face paint, that's sick. Theaters are killing themselves.
No, it was the right thing to do.
Not that many
And,
people are wearing
and
face paint.
if you don't reckon, like I feel so strongly about that, and I'll go so far as to say, if you don't recognize that it was the right thing for the theater to do, then you're not thinking big picture. AMC again got blamed and got brutally blasted by people in the public for saying, how could you possibly let somebody in just covering their faces and hiding their identities? And when you put on a bunch of makeup, you can totally distort what you look like. And you shouldn't leave it up to 17-year-old kids taking tickets at the door to make the judgment between how much face makeup is too much and how much isn't. You just have a rule. Can't cover your face. Can't cover your face. Because the public blamed AMC when they did let people in doing that. And now they say, no, we're not going to let people do that. It wasn't to make sure you're 17. It's so that you are not hiding your identity. You are not putting something on your face where, hey, in a court of law, you couldn't definitively say, you know, for a fact that was me. And I get it. They have to protect themselves legally. They have to make their patrons feel safe, because it sucks that we live in a world where that's a necessity. So there's that.
Carding me when I pull out my Pokemon wallet to pay for Deadpool 1. That's to make sure I'm not 17.
That makes sure.
But
That's to
doesn't
be
that
like-
feel good when it happens?
It is the best when an actual 17-year-old too is like, I need to see your ID. And you're like, oh, do you? I'm ancient and as old as time. I'm crumbling to dust before you.
Blessings to you, my son.
But thank you for noting that I'm an adult with a fucking Pokemon wallet.
Ann still gets carded.
I do
course
too
he does.
sometimes.
Of course she does. I do too at Trader Joe's.
All right. What's
Oh,
next?
it's real nice.
Yeah. Tron says, I was watching Ravens game Monday and there was a Craven promo spot in their kicker, Justin Tucker and Harbaugh.
yeah.
Oh, with their kicker. Okay. I don't know when kickers started getting movie promotion spots, but if anyone deserves it, Tim, give kickers more love.
It was a really good spot.
How'd they do that?
Since I know you definitely watched the football game.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it was so riveting. I
Listen.
loved every moment.
It was full. I don't know if the movie's going to suck or not, but the promo spot was perfect because you got this Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, just Tucker, the kicker. And he's now like convinced himself that he's Kraven the Hunter. And like, he's now doing these hardcore workouts in the gym, and all the other Raven players like, isn't that our kicker? Like doing all this stuff. And he goes up to the coach. He goes, coach, let's, because the name of the team is the Baltimore Ravens. Let's call us the Baltimore Cravens. And then you see the external shot of the stadium with them dropping a K in front of the R on the stadium. It was a very, listen, full marks to their, you know what? It felt like Ryan Reynolds doing something promoting a Deadpool movie.
Sure.
It was
I can see
actually
that.
really creative and very well done. So bravo to the marketing team behind the movie, because you did a really good job with that. All right, what's next?
Jay Pinnock says, hey team, always appreciate your live shows. As a way too early prediction, let me know your thoughts. MCU Fantastic Four versus new DC Superman, both next summer. Which makes more money, box office? Which are you more hyped for?
Answered this question many times.
Yeah.
I'm more hyped for Superman. Fantastic Four will make more money.
Because it's part of an established franchise.
Because remember, yeah, and this new Superman movie, a lot of people are going to avoid it because everybody abandoned the DC movies before. This is a brand new universe. It's going to take them time to build it up. It's going to take time to win back the trust of the movie-going audience. I don't think Fantastic Four is going to be $1 billion film or anything, but I think Fantastic Four makes more money than Superman does. All right, what's next?
Okay, Jedi Master Super Mario says, saw Wicked and really enjoyed it. I'm in the minority, but I think Ariana Grande's performance was the weakest part of the film. I never bought her as the character, only in the last act in Emerald City. Overall, a great film, but can't wait for part 2.
Look, all art is subjective and it hits us in different ways, and we're all going to have, and your opinion on that is no less and no more valid than mine. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. As somebody who is not an Ariana Grande fan, I got to tell you, I was absolutely blown away by what she did in that. Like the way she brought that character to life and really made it her own at the same time. I never would have guessed she was that good. And it actually made me, Chris, I don't know if you were here when I said this before. It's actually left me in a place now where I am very curious to see her in another lead role, to see what she can do. Like, because is this just she just happened to find a character that is perfect for her personality?
Yeah.
Or is she really good at saying, how can I breathe life into this character? I'm dying to see. What did you think about her
Oh,
performance?
I thought she was pitch perfect in this. A lot of people forget too that before she was doing the whole Nickelodeon thing, she was a child actor on Broadway. She was doing all of this kind of
never
stuff
knew she did
before. She
Broadway.
did 13 the musical. She did a ton of stuff, and there's all these really great pictures that have been going around the press tour too of her meeting Kristen Chenoweth when she was a little kid, and meeting Jeff Goldblum when she was a little kid when they were doing theater. But she's tremendous. I think she has an incredible vocal range. You can't deny that.
Oh, no, yeah. I've
Regardless
never
how you
liked her
feel.
songs.
Yeah.
But as a vocalist, you can't deny
She
her
has
talent.
Crazy range. I'm really excited to see what else she does, because she also does great impressions. I love when she's the host on SNL. I think she kills it. I think that she has a lot of potential so long as she keeps picking projects that make sense for her.
Stop licking donuts.
And
I
don't
s-
lick donuts. My mom is still mad about that one. I think it's hilarious.
I
She's like,
saw a video
little
on
girl licked a
YouTube.
donut once, and I think that's horrible.
It is horrible, but
I'm like, yeah, but
we'll move on.
there's also so many worse things in the world.
I saw a video on YouTube where Ariana Grande was singing all these popular songs from the 90s and 2000s, and she would sound exactly like she sang a Celine song. She sounded
She's
like
so
Celine.
good as Celine.
She sang a Mariah song. She sounded like Mariah. She sang a Cher song. She sounded exactly like Cher. Like it was, oh, that's pretty good. Like she's pretty good at that. All right, what's next?
The Robo producer says, John, Wicked is absolutely amazing. The Wizard isn't as lovable as in The Wizard of Oz. So much more character depth. I can't wait to see the screen. Goldblum is stellar.
Yeah, Goldblum doesn't come into it, I mean, really until pretty late in the film.
Yeah.
But he's great as it. Now, I will admit, like, listen, I loved Wicked. I thought it was great. I will admit that I am also kind of the, I love giving a look at what things happened before Wizard of Oz. Because remember, I haven't seen the stage play. I have no idea what happens in part 2. I have no idea what happens in part 2. you better not change Wizard of Oz. That's all I'm thinking. It's like, don't change Wizard. Like, hey, give us this really interesting look of what may have happened before Wizard of Oz, but don't change Wizard of Oz. Because if you change Wizard of Oz,
I feel like based
that,
on
I don't know if I'll
over
like that
here,
very much.
I feel like they're two separate allegories. They're from two separate
Sure.
times. The original Wizard of Oz had its own allegory for issues that were going on at its own time. So it's not like you can say like, oh, this is so much more in depth than the Oz from that. It's like they were telling a different story.
There's explanations for things that happen in Wizard of Oz that you may or may not enjoy, but it doesn't inherently change what happened necessarily.
Okay.
That's
We'll
as
see.
vague as I'll be.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind giving me a different perspective of something. But look, so I'll tell you this, and please, nobody ruin it for me. Although I'm sure I'll get it ruined because I don't know. But like, in Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch is wicked. Like, she's a bad guy. I love that we're seeing an origin story for that, because most of the great villains start off as very good people, and then something happens that changes that. What I don't want to have happen is that right through to the end, Elphaba was just misunderstood, and she was actually really a good person.
It's
When in Wizard of Oz, she is not. I'll get you and your little dog too.
That's another thing, though, too, because everybody in the Wizard of Oz is just a representation of Dorothy's life, and then she clunked her head.
Yeah.
So it's just like I don't even like hold it as it's this. I just feel like they're using some lore, but it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to remember that this is all this stuff is based on the book Wizard of Oz, which is
Right.
public domain. By the way, you today can go and make a Wizard of Oz movie if you want, as long
Oz,
as you base
Blood,
it
and
all
Honey,
just
baby.
on the book and not on any of the other movie stuff, and not on the movie. So I don't know. We'll
Oz,
see.
Blood and
All right.
honey.
What's
Is
next?
there a Popeye one?
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Popeye spinach and honey.
It's something like Popeye the Slayer instead of Sailor. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
I hate it.
Popeye the Slayer, man. All right. What's next?
Hank Pym. I was going to wear my art cosplay to the AMC for Terrifier 3, but made sure to check the rules online before, so I wore it without the faceplate. They should have checked the website. I don't think a lot of people think to check the website for that, but
Yeah. Again, the information is there. I understand that you may not have checked it, but
we know
again,
now.
Like, if the biggest problem is I've got to run in the bathroom quick and wash off the makeup. If that's the biggest problem
it's
your
not a
day
huge
is
thing.
facing, you live a pretty sweet life. If that's the biggest problem of your day. So because you're right, it's there. The information is there. And maybe you should think today, like, hey, I want to do this full thing. I'm going to just double check to make sure that's okay. Because there are people who show up at Disneyland that then get turned away and say, you got to go back to your car or something and take that
Just
off.
give it a goog. It's not that hard.
Yeah, give it a quick Google. All right, what's next?
Okay, give it a goog. Vander's Kids. Top 3 most memorable scenes from Arcane Season 2 that combine visuals and music in no particular order. Echo and Powder dancing to the French song Caitlin and V scene with Fantastic by King Princess, and the Isha scene with Isha's song by Isan Chan.
Yeah, again, I'm not super thrilled with how season 2 ended, but I still think season 2 overall was really quite good. And a lot of very memorable scenes and stuff like that. Have you had a chance yet to finish it off?
Yes, we watched that last night.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I can understand your issue with the finale,
Right, yeah.
but it still delivered the story that I wanted.
Yeah,
I was pleased.
I guess I mean, for me, Arcane started with such a tangible, very human story about two sisters going in different paths, caste, society separation ideas and stuff like that. And it ended with very ethereal, no real explanation. We don't need to understand any of it, like supernatural kind of stuff that then
Sure.
ended really with the main thing being about Jason Victor and not really about Vi and Jinx. But overall, I still thought the season was very solid, and I really did quite like it.
I was glad to at least get that full circle of, oh, okay, so that's why this all happened.
Yeah,
Because I did kind of just forget about it.
Like that.
Yeah, of just,
Yep.
oh yeah, he did have that, and that's
That
what sparked
was
all of this.
very clever.
That was really cool.
That was very clever. Again, I just wasn't thrilled with the finale, but overall the season was great, and I would recommend it to anybody.
It's so well done.
All right, what's next?
We got Dr. Stinky's back. I had no idea about the shooting at AMC. That's awful. So I totally get why they made me take off the mask. Anyway, on a better note, I finally watched The Truman Show, Truman Burbank. Liked it a lot. Didn't love it, but Jim's performance is amazing.
Yeah, for a lot of people, I found that the Truman Show isn't everybody's cup of tea.
Oh, I love it.
And I kind of get it. I am one of the people that loved the movie. I thought it was really great. And I think it ages well. I think you know what? I would almost think that Truman Show is almost even more relevant today than when it came out.
Absolutely. Especially because now everyone is the main character of their story and is constantly putting that information out into the world on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I think it's very, very viable.
By the way, I'm going to ask you guys, but I'll also ask you guys at home watching. Much like there was Dante's Peak and Volcano and Olympus Has Fallen and what was the other White House attack movie?
White House Down.
White House Down. Not long after The Truman Show, there was another movie that was almost exactly like it, where the guy's life, Ed TV. That's right. Somebody already put it in. Michael Burgett, Ed TV. Yeah, was that other one. I forgot about that. I liked Ed TV too. I thought that one was pretty good. All right, what's next?
Logan says, I would hate to wash all that green makeup off in a theater bathroom sink. There's one sink in the men's room. My local AMC that hasn't worked in 5 years. He keeps trying it. It don't work.
Keep going back.
Water pressure sucks and the timer is like 3 seconds. They must have scrubbed for half an hour.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb, Logan, and say that your experience is not reflective of most movie-going experiences. The most movie theaters that I've gone to, even the old ones, have, like, I was just in an AMC theater yesterday, 7 or 8 sinks, great lighting, great whatever in the bathroom. So I would suggest if you go to a movie theater where there's one sink that hasn't worked in 5 years, I might suggest finding another theater.
That might be a location they want to think about closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
I think there's some health code violations.
You know, they had
there.
remodeled like that AMC 8 in the mall in Burbank. They have a really nice bathroom in there. It's really
really?
clean and really like well lit. And yeah, it's
Well,
nice.
they totally redid that place.
Yeah.
Like they did a really good, nice job
I always forget
doing
that
that
one
place.
exists.
I'm going there today for juror number 2.
Ooh, okay.
All right,
I'm
what's
going to
next?
dress like a juror. Hot Rod Todd says, if there was an actor out there they'd really like to see get a big break, who would it be? For me, it would be Scoot McNairy.
I mean, Scoot McNairy has had his big break several times, right? He's had a big break. It's just never, unfortunately, broken through. For the record, I really like Scoot McNairy. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
And
He was,
So like a regular.
what was that movie he was just in?
Speak no evil.
Speak No Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Jonathan, you're gonna dress like a regular person.
And of course, he was the guy in Batman versus Superman, and of course, he had the series, not *Halt and Catch Fire*. It's
He was in *Halt and Catch Fire*.
is that the one I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
with Lee Pace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the *Halt and
Yeah.
Catch Fire*. Yeah. So he's had several breaks. It's just that he hasn't broken through, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
All right. Well, now that I've broken Ray, Mr.
I'm gonna dress like a jerk. It just hit me so late. I was like, wait, that's a regular person.
Mr.
Really good, really good.
Mr.
Thank you for that.
Burkhead says, I really miss Hans Zimmer's scores in Gladiator 2. It makes great. All right, it makes great. Oh, the first one. I had to buy the soundtrack CD like 3 times 20 plus years ago. Have a great day.
I remember being at the Hans Zimmer concert. It was so powerful when they started playing the Gladiator score. First of all, there were like 20 great moments at the Hans Zimmer concert, but when they started playing the Gladiator one, it almost moved you to tears. Especially as he's going through the wheat field at the end, like that. It's so haunting and mesmerizing, and yeah, it's fantastic. It's an utterly fantastic score. All right, what's next?
Joe Howland says, hey guys, just want to say happy Thanksgiving. Hope your Thanksgiving is awesome. Appreciate all your hard work and dedication. Have a great day. Bring on the filthy.
Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
And then Amin says, just caught up with Dune episode 2, and yeah, I gotta get caught up.
Same.
And hot damn, the end of that episode was bonkers. What a rich and complex show.
I quite liked the first episode. And I remember thinking after the first episode, I like the first episode, but it could go either way. The second episode hooked me. I'm now hooked on this show.
Okay.
Again, like they did some crazy stuff, and the big confrontation between Hart and the Mother Superior at the end was like, oh shit. It was like, and I love this actor. Whether from Vikings and what, like, what's his name again? I keep forgetting it. He played the main guy in
Vikings.
He was the main. He played
I can't remember his
Ragnar in Vikings, and I'm forgetting his name. But anyway, he was also the lead in that World of Warcraft movie. Travis Fimmel.
Oh, there we go.
I really like him. He's got this very unique personality that he brings to screen that I've always really liked. So yeah, the first episode again, I liked. Second episode has hooked me, so I'm all on board with this show now. Have you been caught up on it?
I haven't watched any of it yet. I
Oh,
need
that's
to.
right, because you're not a huge
I'm not
Dune
a Dune
fan.
person.
Keep forgetting
Sorry,
about that.
guys. But I'm interested in this show though because the lore is interesting.
There's
to
no
me.
sand. There's no worms. There's no sand.
So what's the
Good.
point?
It's not
Good.
a
All right, what's next?
Get out of here, Sand.
Jai CSC says, "What's the last movie that inspired you to get creative, write, paint, play, music, etc.?"
You know what? That's a great question.
You know, I don't know if it was the last one. Laura and I, like 500 Days of Summer is like really big for like our like relationship lore or whatever you want to say. But I remember 500 Days of Summer around the time when it happened. It also clicked in something of like, you know, start like thinking about career change and like doing what I want to love, which was like production, post-production, and you know what I mean, as opposed to like what I was doing, which was accounting and finance. And so, yeah.
Dune 2 really tempted me because I've had an idea for a screenplay for a while. I don't know that's a particularly great idea, but I've had this idea for a screenplay for a while. And after watching Dune 2, I was really motivated. I still haven't done it. I was really motivated to start writing another screenplay, but I never did. But that movie really kind of got the creative juices flowing. What about for you, Chris? Have you had a movie recently that has really got your creative juices going?
I mean, the Spider-Verse stuff was just so amazing,
creative.
and the voice acting so good in it. Same with Arcane. That was another one that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great, and they've elevated the medium so much. Mostly like TV lately, like Shrinking and Bad Sisters season 1 were the things of like, oh, I want to tell really funny, heartfelt, and sometimes terrifying stories in the case of Bad Sisters.
I mean, for me, it was like after I watched the menu, I started wanting to make a hamburger.
That's
Hey, I like it.
That's creative though.
Yeah.
You know, you're actually
I
very
mean-
creative, like with your cooking.
I mean,
so.
every day, like I'll run into a YouTube video where it's like this guy makes a RC car out of a Hot Wheels, and then I will try to do that. The problem is I never have the tools, so it becomes more expensive
To just
to try to do what that person did. But yeah. I mean,
all right. Time for one more question today. What's our last question?
King Daddy Goat says,
Hey.
Happy Thanksgiving Eve, John and homies. I haven't heard many people talk about Tulsa King. I've really enjoyed season 2 so far. I think if you liked season 1, right, John? Have you checked out season 2? Thanks for being on the Filthy.
I did enjoy season 1, and I watched the first episode of season 2, and I just never jumped back on it. It's not that I disliked the first episode of season 2, but I never felt really compelled to keep watching it. So
we've been getting a lot of questions about
Yeah.
Tulsa King lately.
Yeah.
I mean, if they start flowing it a little bit more, I bet you're gonna go get back.
I mean, I think I plan on getting back on it. Like I haven't
matter what?
abandoned Tulsa.
Okay.
I haven't abandoned Tulsa
Okay.
King season
There's
2.
just
It's
so
just that
much.
I've never really felt compelled. Like there are some episodes, like I was counting down the days to the next episode of Penguin, counting down the days to the next episode of Agatha. I haven't, or counting down the days to the next episode of Shrinking. I haven't felt that about Tulsa King, even though I did quite like season 1. So I still plan on finishing season
We
2
get Skeleton Crew next week, don't we?
Monday.
Monday.
Okay. And also, I'm so happy that I haven't watched any of Silo because this Thanksgiving I at least have 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So at least
Oh, have a nice little binge.
that's what I'm going to plan to
Make
watch.
sure
at least.
message me and let me know what you think.
Yes. Yes.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number 1, because you give us great fun things to talk about. But number 2, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora,
Skin flute.
Jonathan Voico, Chris Carr's here.
Just go. Just go.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends,
I think that's how it sounds.
bye-bye.
I think that's how it sounds.